Welcome to the Resilient Businessman Podcast, episode number 6. Today I'm joined by Graham Todd, who's going to share his journey from 2013 when he got divorced, left his home, but more recently he's given up booze and has had an amazing transformation journey, which will be super valuable for any man who's struggling with similar things in his life. So Graham, if you just want to give a little introduction to who you are, what you're about, etc., and we'll go from there.
Yeah, sure. So my name's Graham Todd. Everyone calls me Todd. I've been called Todd since I was 5, and it kind of fits into my Wild Breast brand. When we met, Chris, you said, "Oh, you're American." I'm not. It's all the whole brand is American. I run a digital marketing agency with my partner, who I met on Twitter, Joe. So everything I do is online. Everything in my life is because of the internet, social media at the moment. So I run a digital marketing agency. We've got a team of about 10 of us. Love social media, love writing content, love speaking, as you may find out in a minute. And I like to share what I do. So since I found Twitter back in 2010, I just shared what I do. And we'll probably get into that in a minute. And I don't seem to, I've said to somebody, I said, I think I've got something wrong with my brain. And they said, well, what do you mean? He said, well, you know, when some people think about things before they post them online and then worry about the recompense from it, I don't worry about any of that stuff. That bit of my brain isn't there. So I kind of accept that, but then use it, because a lot of people are afraid to share themselves properly. I think the Instagram filter and what's seen online and what people share isn't really the true version of them. And I'm the opposite. I just share all warts and all. And I've got to say, it hasn't really ever been a problem either. People worry, oh my God, don't share everything. Well, I actually do share everything. So, and that's probably why we're talking today. So that's me in a nutshell.
We've got pure freedom to speak with it, which most people just can't do, can they? So, super powerful. So let's start your journey, as we've briefly discussed before we press record on this podcast, going back to 2013, which is nearly 9 years ago now. So I'm sure a lot's changed, but where did this all begin for you?
Yeah, so I was driving a van for a wine merchant. I'd been doing that for many years. So I kind of fell from job to job to job after school. University, I didn't go to university, college, binned off all that. So I just went job to job to job. Finally found a job I loved, driving wine around the country. I loved it. And to cut a very long story short, in about 2010, I went to a wine tasting, and we'd just bought a new warehouse. So we were trying to get people to go there to buy wine, you know, that's business. And some fella came up to me that I knew, and he said, how's business? And I was new to the networking arena. I was kind of new to that kind of situation. I was actually filling in for my boss, not only giving me the script of what to say when someone says, how's business? So I said, it's pretty shit, how's yours? But you're not supposed to say that, are you? You're supposed to say, it's great, thanks, how are you? And he was like, oh, why? I said, well, we've got this new wine warehouse. No one gets it. They don't go there. We've got very small traffic to the shop, and it's really got to work. It's really important. And this guy had his own shop, and it was out of town, similar situation. And he said, you've got to use Twitter. And I said, oh, what's Twitter? And at the time, I'd only just joined Facebook. I was very late to social, which is kind of ironic considering what I do now. And at no point did I question his authority, his skill set. I didn't check his Twitter, because if I had, I would never have believed him, because he didn't know what he was doing on Twitter at all. He just didn't. He was just giving me some advice, which I genuinely believe changed the trajectory of my life, because if I hadn't then joined Twitter that evening, pissed when I got home, none of this would have happened. So I joined Twitter for this little wine merchant in Warwick, where I now live. I didn't at the time. And I did all the things people failed with. Tried to sell wine, tried to do sales posts on social media, buy our stuff. No one cared. And after 3 months, got so bored, I just shared all the other stuff that happened, all the bits and pieces we did. They were quite a cool company, family run. We made loads of screw ups. We shared those. We had some successes. We shared those. We got stuck in traffic. We shared that. We parked the van illegally. We shared that. We did wine tastings. We drank port at 8 in the morning. We shared all of it. I just shared it on Twitter, and it just became a thing we did. No strategy, no targets, no KPIs, nothing. And we got on BBC radio, local TV, national TV. The rep from Moe came in and asked me by name. Like we got a reach. It was cool, and people came and bought wine. And then people started asking me how I did it, and I couldn't quite get across that you just be yourself. People couldn't do it. And then I just got frustrated that they were so poor and social. So I started training them. So I ran workshops, and that got me into what I do now.
But the secret there is to just be authentic and be yourself and share the ups and the downs rather than just glamorizing everything on social media, highlight reels, just be open to share the down.
Which I think is finally 9 years, 10 years, 11 years maybe after I started doing it, it's finally getting to people now. That's not via me, but just generally now. In
Yeah.
the people now understand that the algorithms will feed you what you click on, and they understand that it's not real, it's not real life, and you really ought to be careful. And Instagram threatened to remove the like button at one point because teenagers were getting dopamine hits from it, and it's been absolutely proven with science that the likes and the reach and the comments you get from social media posts boosts what makes us human because of our connection to community. So it's very powerful. If your listeners haven't watched it's not called is it called The Social Dilemma? I think it is. It's a movie about basically how Facebook is built and what it's for and how it works. And you see something on the internet, it will hound you and follow you around it. And if you click on a video of a certain politician, whether they're left, right, or in the middle, you'll get more content based around left, right, or middle based on that. And it very much steers your political views, and all your biases then are confirmed in the biggest confirmation bias ever. So it's a powerful platform, and I think now people are starting to realise that social media isn't that healthy, and that not all of it's real. And I've been real, hopefully, as much as I can throughout, and that's what's attracted people to our stuff and our story, and it's what I try and preach to other people.
So I might learn something from that myself. So do you think your current relationship with social media is healthy, or is it borderline? I don't know, put words in your mouth. How do you feel about social media?
Yeah, I do use it a lot. I'm on it a lot. We'll come to the alcohol thing in a minute, but I get up quite early now in the morning to work out, and I try desperately not to look at social media until I get back from the gym, because if the first thing you put into your head in the morning is someone else's bullshit, well, that's not good for your mindset. If you've ever read The Miracle Morning or listened to anyone on the stage that talks about a great morning routine, none of them say open Facebook, none of them say check TikTok, none of them. So I try not to do that now. I say try. My business coach would slap me for saying that. But I'm pretty good at it now. I'm not looking at it. I'll check my fitness app, and I'll check my sleep app on my watch or something, just anything to get, because I've got an addiction to it for sure. It's given me a great life. So now I'm kind of addicted to what gave me a great life, if that makes sense. So my relationship's good. I definitely overshare, but I don't mind that. And the alcohol journey that I will probably come to in a minute, that's definitely helped people to have better lives because of my oversharing. So I'm kind of okay with it. But I think because I understand how it works, because we run Facebook and Instagram ads, and we train LinkedIn, we understand to a point how far the algorithm goes, and so we kind of see behind the curtain. We see their game, and maybe it doesn't affect me as much. But
so what do you feel is the most influential platform at the present time? Is it Facebook, LinkedIn, is it Twitter? Like, what do you feel?
yeah, it kind of depends where you are, really. And influential is a good word, a good choice of word, because they do influence. Lots of the people I meet now, LinkedIn is very much where they're at. So I'm a business to business kind of business. So I work with other businesses. So LinkedIn's great. If you go to exhibitions and you go networking, LinkedIn has always been a good tool for that. LinkedIn have added the laughing emoji this week, which is like, wow, they've finally become kind of cool. So that's a channel. I think if you're over 25, you get a LinkedIn platform. We're recruiting at the moment again, and we get great CVs come through. We even ask for a video, but we go straight to LinkedIn. We go straight to their LinkedIn profile and look at it. So if you are trying to get a job at the moment, sort your LinkedIn out for sure. But in terms of influence, I think Facebook and Instagram have got it locked down pretty much because of the way they're integrated into the whole of the web. So anywhere you go, there's something hooked in from Facebook and Instagram. There's pixels, tracking code, like buttons. It's a backdoor into a website, picks you up, tracking codes. Even beyond GDPR and cookie policies, they're still tracking you. They're still doing stuff. They brought something in, actually, I've noticed today, that gets around it even further. So they're very influential. But it's an interesting thing. I don't know how true this is, so I can't really back it with any source data at the moment. But TikTok is obviously a Chinese social platform, and it went viral many years ago. And people said, "Oh, we've got to get TikTok. We've got to get it over here in the West." And now we've got it. And I'll ask you a question, actually, Chris, to see what your answer is. What do you think the most popular type of content on TikTok is?
Most popular be something strange, very strange, I would have thought.
Yeah, like it's probably, most people say to me, it's like, people doing dance moves and
Yes.
replicating kind of that kind of thing. And but in China, rumor has it, because you can't really see it because of the great firewall of China, the popular content over there is completely different because they've engineered it to train their young people to go for more for the kind of the STEM, like the sciences and stuff like that. So if you're in China and you post stupid dance videos, and I say stupid dance videos, a lot of them are, you won't go anywhere on the algorithm. If you do that over here, you'll be top of the algorithm. So
Mm.
you talk about the influence and the change and the fakery of it all. It's a dark and weird place, and insert conspiracy theories wherever you like there. But it's interesting that China have decided to sort of educate on that side and make us dance in our garden and do TikTok videos over here. So yeah, I think. But in answer to your main question, it kind of depends what you want to do or what you're trying to achieve. YouTube is still a phenomenal channel for search. So if you do anything visual at all, get on there and create content, because it's still a brilliant platform, great search engine.
And what's your thoughts on text versus video content, or do you prefer to mix it up?
Mix it up, definitely mix it up. Some people watch videos, some people hate videos. I forget the exact stat now, but a very high percentage of people watch videos with no sounds. If you don't have captions on your videos, forget it. So much software now that makes it easy to do. I forget which platform it is now, but one of them even adds the captions for you as you're doing it. YouTube's pretty good at adding them on there. So there's a lot of people who will read content. Um, it's a bit like with books. I'm in a book club. I'm obviously old now, and some people read the book, and some people like me listen to the book. So you've just got people that have different learning styles and different consuming styles, if that's even a word. So I guess it kind of just depends on your audience. But I would mix it up. I'd have both. I do Facebook Live videos in my Facebook group, and they get a few views. If I post a text update with an image, it gets thousands of views. So just because it's easy to consume, you don't have to have headphones, you don't have to stop and go in a quiet room to listen to it. If you're scrolling through social media on the toilet, people do it. Don't tell me you don't do it. You can't listen to a video whilst you're on the pan because it's pretty obvious what you're doing. So I think the text is often a good place to be.
And before we go back in time, what's your thoughts on the metaverse in the future? Interesting.
I'm still unsure of all this stuff. The jury's still out for me on things like cryptocurrency and all that kind of thing. I can't get my head around it. I understand that if you want to be around a dinner table with Snoop Dogg, you've got to buy some kind of cool artwork. And I've got a friend that actually creates these things as well, and I still don't quite get it. I'm just not sure we're there. Without meaning to be a cardboard, I made the transition to electric car recently, and it's still got a grill on the front of it. And my son, 15, going on 16, said, "Why's your car got a grill? There's no engine in it. Like, you open the hood, there's nothing in it." Um, and so it's just because people aren't ready yet to not have a grill. Like Tesla have done it, but most other car companies have not. And that's where I feel like Metaverse is. People aren't quite ready for that yet. So
Mm.
most people are still quite happy with scrolling through a timeline and TikTok and Reels and videos, and look how long YouTube's been around for. And I'm just not sure the majority of people are ready to sort of be in the internet. I'm not sure we're there yet.
Mm.
I'm happy to be corrected. I usually am, but I'm certainly not there yet. I'm not sure. I can see it's impressive and it's clever, but if anyone's ever read 1984 or anything like that, you'd be starting to think, are we letting too much go here? There's too much happening too fast, and the pandemic certainly accelerated a lot of that tech.
Absolutely.
So the jury's out for me. I'm not sure, but Meta, it's here. It's called Meta Suite now instead of Facebook Suite. It's happening, and they tend to control a lot. So we'll see.
Pretty scary to imagine what it'll be like in 100 years' time. Just text just transformed humanity just dramatically, hasn't it?
I just see scene from Terminator 2. That's all I see. I just don't think we'll be here. You've got to be very careful. I love all my tech. Everything I've got synced to my watch is synced to my car. I love it all, but it could so easily go wrong even now. And yeah, so it's good fun. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, I feel like we're in a book that will be read many years. This is what happened in 2022. Don't do this.
Yeah. And I'm on the verge of actually of thinking of purchasing an electric car. So can we quickly dive into that? Like, what's your thoughts
Yeah.
on what you
Uh,
experience?
like it or not, it is the future. I actually did a mini blog about it on my Facebook recently. I've had it like 3 or 4 months now, and like the usual stuff that you hear about, like they are expensive to buy. They're more expensive, absolutely. But I've leased mine as a company car. It's instantly cheaper. The company car tax is minimal. There is no road tax. So depending on how you do it, it's actually cheaper to buy and run the car. Clearly, the electricity is cheaper than the fuel. No, it isn't more eco-friendly, in my opinion, because to make an electric car, to get the electricity into the car, it doesn't change the environment at all. I'm not into that. I'm not being hoodwinked by that at all. But as a selfish car driver, it's great. It's much better than my petrol car. I absolutely love it. And it isn't a problem charging it. I've got a charger at home. There's a charger at the gym. There's a charger at McDonald's. Like, there is no problem with having charge. You just have to plan, really. If you wanted to go 500 miles now, you would be better off going in a petrol car. But if you wanted to just tootle around your town and do 500-600 miles a week, even a week, you'd probably cope with, but a month or so, it wouldn't be an issue. It's just a mindset change, really. But all the stuff, all the scaremongering things you hear about, it's just not there. I just don't see it. So I wrote a post about it a few months ago, 1 month ago, I think it was.
I actually read it, to be honest. I read it, yeah. It
was, yeah. And
still
had people in the comments going, yeah, but like, but no, I've actually got one and you haven't got one, and this is my experience. But it is my experience of very low miles. I only do 1,000 miles a month, so it's low. But I have been Devon, I've been to London. I went to London and back from here, no charge. Came back with like 5% on it. Just wanted to get back without charging it, which you shouldn't do. Sorry, Audi. But no, I love it. It's absolutely brilliant, and it's still, because it's still kind of new. You do get quite a lot of looks from people in your electric car. People look at you, which is kind of takes me back to my boyhood dreams of owning a Nova SR. People actually look at you when you're driving something. So that's cool. We should definitely test drive it, have a look. But it's a mindset shift more than anything.
Yeah, test drove a Cupra. You know, that new brand of car. Is it Cupra?
Oh yeah, I saw one at a festival. They would randomly had these at a festival. They look really nice.
Yeah, it was pretty decent, to be fair. I'm not sure if it's big enough for like our dogs and stuff, but
that's why I went for my Audi, because there was nothing estate wise that was big enough. So I've got a Q4, which is slightly bigger, and it's because of the batteries in the floor, you get loads of space. So, sadly, because I've got a dog and kids, I had to look for like space in the boot over horsepower and all the cool stuff. But it's still a great car.
Right, let's swerve back to where your Twitter was going well. You started selling loads of wine, and then where did we go from there?
Yeah, so it went really well. Started training people, started running networking events randomly. So we had a tweet up. So there was about 300 businesses locally in Warwickshire that were all following each other, and it was like, oh, we should really just go for a drink. And a drink turned into like 100 people in a closed restaurant, having to go on the radio to tell people not to come because it is fully booked and we have a capacity. The fire officer's telling us off, all this kind of stuff. And that kind of started what was known as Warwick Tweet Up, which was, I actually created a mini organisation with two other girls locally. We had, I think, up to 5 meetings at one point. We had 5 meetings overall, sorry. Just business networking. I'd never been to a business networking event. If you remember the story of how I found Twitter, no idea what I was doing. Just ran these things, and it was cool. We had our own website. We had a member directory. We had our own logo. We had videos. We raised money for the local air ambulance. We had the biggest team that ran a 5K event locally, all in branded T-shirts. Like, it was really, really cool. And if you're listening to this, I'm still sat in a branded T-shirt now. It's just a different brand. I'm not that brand. And it was great fun. But then people kept saying to me, you should really do this as a job. And I was like, I can't do that as a job, like running networking meetings and stuff. No, you should really do marketing. You should help people with digital marketing. So it was kind of forced on me, but like at the end of 2012, like 1 minute, 2 minutes into 2013, I found out that my marriage wasn't quite what I thought it was. And I left. I just left. I think I had a couple of glasses of champagne, but I got in the car and drove to my brother's house and I quit. Because my marriage disintegrated and life kind of hit a wall kind of thing, I chose that opportunity to just restart everything. So within 6 months, I think this is right, within 6 months, I got divorced, sold the house, started a new relationship, moved in with Joe, who I still live with now. I quit my job and then started a company all within 6 months. So I did all the big three things, which is relationship, home, and job. I restarted all of it. It was just the right time. But it kind of, when I look back and every time I talk about it, it almost feels like something. If you ever believe there's kind of like powers that be above it, it feels like I was in the wrong place, and they were just like, hang on a minute, let's just destroy that, and then I have to go and do that. And it felt like a calling, for want of a better word. And it just all happened. And I don't know if you're, into kind of luck or spirituality or anything else, but the day I left my job, I gave them 2 weeks' notice. I had no contract, and I left. It was a Friday. It was like a beautiful sunny day where we're recording this now, and I drove home. Got home, put my son to bed, put a tuxedo on. We went to an awards dinner. It was happening locally, and I won an award as well on the day of my last day of my job. And it was like, this is all meant to be. So my acceptance speech was a pitch, because I said, thanks very much. Wasn't expecting it, genuinely wasn't. I was up for 2 other awards which I didn't win, so I'd kind of like sat back and thought, pressure's off. And I think I said something along the lines of, if I quit my job today, please hire me. And people did. The sponsors for the actual event approached me. They didn't work in the end, but plenty of other people did. So it was like, I don't know whether your listeners will resonate with this, but like when you want to make a big change, you start thinking about how you're going to do it, and you start trying to plan it, and you start logically trying to work it out. At no point did any logic go into my mind with any of that stuff. Like, I found out my marriage was in tatters and I left. There was no real thinking. It was all emotion. When I found out I could probably earn enough money to replace a small part of my wage, I just quit. I just told them. When I won that award and stood on stage, I didn't plan, I didn't write the speech. I didn't know I was going to win. I just said, please hire me, and people did. And I think there's too much thinking going on, too much planning, and it was meant to be, and it worked out. And even today, Joe and I, and our partner Joe, business partner as well, we're sat having a meeting today, and we're in the recruitment phase, and we're talking about the kind of the ideal person. They kind of really need these qualities. They really, it'd be great if they could do this, and this. You'd never find someone like that. So, there must be someone like that. Because I can do these things, you can do these things. And actually, someone on my team is, well, that wouldn't suit them. They can probably do it. There is someone like that. And within minutes, we had an inquiry in our inbox from someone with all of those qualities and more, and some things we'd left off that we talked about before. And we've had a video interview come through today, and it's like, geez, that's exactly what we want. And it wasn't in our inbox before. And I'm very much been a believer in that kind of stuff. I think if you really want to do something and you believe in it and you think about it a lot and you dream about it and talk about it and put it out to the world, I'm probably doing it now, just by having this interview with you. I do think the world sort of gives you what you want in a good and a bad way as well.
Yeah, in the past year, I've started to really believe in it all. And the last guy who was on the podcast, Lee Flanagan, massively into manifestation and the universe, drawing things into you. So it's fascinating, and you probably don't believe it until you start. It's a self-awareness, isn't it? When you start to see these things, like, hold on a second, I was just thinking about that, and now it's coming to place. So it's all about self-awareness, and then the belief starts to come when you make that shift.
Absolutely. And any successful book, podcast, speaker I've ever seen, there's always an element of the law of attraction, manifestation. So there's always an element of it in there. Gary Vaynerchuk, a famous marketer in America, talks about self-awareness, and there's a lot of very, very successful people, and not just because they're rich, but successful in what they do. And a lot of musicians, talk about it as well. There's a lot of music out there from years ago that talks about it. So there has to be some truth in it. And as you say, you've got to kind of see it working. And if you want to see it working, you can kind of look back in the past, like I've just done, talking about the 2013 time. You can look back and say, there's pretty much a lot of evidence there to show that is happening. And that might give you the belief to go and kind of manifest it, if you like.
When shit hits the fan, you're just so blinded by emotion, you can't really think clearly to think, like, what is this teaching me? What are the learnings here?
Yeah.
Until you reflect in the past and go, as you've just said, it all makes sense. So yeah, just in terms of divorce, because a lot of people, I'm sure, can relate to that. I don't know what the divorce rates are, but I know they're high. What would your advice be with the divorce? Was yours just simple enough? You've done it in 6 months, of course, but any advice in that department?
Yeah, I'd probably waited longer than there's no should or could have done, because it's in the past. But I think plenty of people know when a relationship isn't working, and you've got to look at it and say, is it worth working through or not? I was blinkered, and I think really I was blinkered with my marketing stuff, my new hobby and things, and I was running events. I was probably out of the house a bit more than I would have been normally, nothing major. But you've got to look for the signs there, and sometimes if it's over, it's kind of over, and we're both better off. Me and my ex were both better off where we are now. It was a good thing to do. Had a son, still do, and kind of stuck around for him. I'm sort of glad I did until he was sort of 5, 6. I feel like it's an important age to still be around. But you don't want to be like adding negative energy into the house. You don't want to be like hating each other with a child around, because a lot of people stay for kids, which is why I mentioned that. But do you know, looking back, it was actually really easy. It was easy to sell the house. It was easy to split all the stuff. It was easy to decide who has what furniture. And I drove a van at the time. I moved out all my stuff my own. It wasn't even that difficult. It was just like, oh, this is what we'll do. Yeah, you'll lose friends. No, I haven't spoken to my old in-laws ever again. I know really got on with them well. There's a few casualties along the way, but I'm far better now. And I often find, I don't know whether you experience this, but when you actually do something, it's like having one of those tasks that you've been put off for ages. When you actually do it, you think, it wasn't actually that bad, was it? The fear of it,
We
the
put it on a
thought of it.
pedestal, don't we?
Yeah, you think of things, and fear isn't there. Fear is an emotion of the future. That's all it is. The fear of actually what's happening right now is very different. Like if you're in a car accident, your body does everything you need it to do. The adrenaline pumps around, you get on with it. Some people walk away from accidents with broken bodies and bones and stuff. They don't even realise like that's not fear. That's kind of adrenaline. Fear is something in the future. What happens if? And it's very, very difficult to turn that off. I'm fearful of stuff all the time. I'm sure you are, because it's like you're thinking about it and you're worrying about it, and you're putting through all different scenarios. What would happen if? And yet, but I just finally said, do you know what? Fuck this, I'm going. It was the easiest thing ever. I just put a small bag, put a few things in it, and left, and never went back. And it was the easiest thing ever. And then everything else sorted itself out. She put the house on the market, amazing. We had mediation, amazing. We had sorted out the money. It was just easy. It was just really easy. Fortunately, we didn't have like tons of like investments and stuff like Bill Gates. I'm sure that was a nightmare. I'm sure that divorce was a nightmare. But if Bill Gates can get divorced, you can get divorced. I think that's a nice metric to look at, a nice kind of barometer.
So alcohol is a huge part of your resilient journey. So was that because of divorce, or was it before? Or like, tell me what happened with alcohol.
It's always been there, really. And the kind of way I explain it is that I had a problem with alcohol, and the problem was, I think everyone has a problem with it. It's a very dangerous drug, and much like caffeine and tobacco, it's legalized and it's almost forced, certainly in the West, as part of our society. It's what we do, and you're encouraged to drink. I'll go and just have another one. Our parents would have been having one for the road before it became illegal. Just have one for the road, and it's definitely in our society. You're supposed to drink. The UK is obviously a lot worse than most of Europe, but that bothered me, and it bothered me how easy it was. And then when we became successful, it was dead easy to drink, and I started struggling to do dry January. So there's like two things going on here. One of them is like, it's indoctrinated inside society and I don't really like being told what to do. And the other thing was like, I can't actually stop myself doing it anymore. And I used to do dry January, dead easy, and then get back on it. And then I couldn't do it. So I reached out to someone I met in networking, and he does hypnosis and he stops people smoking. Very successful at it. And he works with high level athletes as well, not smokers, but for mindset stuff. Because it's all about the mind, isn't it? Logically, we're like, it's bad for us. And then you go and do it. I shouldn't eat the biscuit. And then all of a sudden you're eating the biscuit. What's going on here? You're sabotaging yourself constantly. So you've got to go in there. And this guy had actually been sober for 4 years, I think, at the time when he posted on Facebook. And I said, oh, wow, can you stop people drinking as well as smoking? He said, yeah, I can stop people doing anything. It's the same thing. It's just going in and working out. So, all right, stop me drinking, but not all the time. Stop me drinking on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday up until 4:30 p.m. and then let me drink at the weekend because I like drinking. He went, all right then. So we did, and I did. And for a couple of years, that's what I did. I didn't drink in the week. And at 4:30 on a Friday, I'd be at the pub. I'd literally order my beer at 27 minutes past and look at it. And I could have drank it, but I didn't. I didn't want to drink it. There was no emotional connection to it. I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to let myself down and whatever I'd done in hypnosis on FaceTime in 45 minutes. That's how quick it was. And it wasn't slinging a watch in front of your face or anything like TikTok, look into my eyes. None of that. It was very much about why do you want to do it. And then fast forward a few years, it then just basically created binge drinking the weekend because of course I didn't drink in the week. So 4:30 on a Friday, get smashed, get as much drinking as possible before I had to come home for dinner. And then at the weekend, I'd plan everything around the weekend from going to the local recycling centre to picking up my kids to do stuff around when the pub would be open, around when could I get a beer in here, when could I go there. And it was And it was kind of cool. And there was a sneaky beer here, sneaky beer there. I even told my partner I'm going for a sneaky beer. She said, "Well, don't tell me. It's not really sneaky if you tell me." And I was like, "Yeah, but I just like having a sneaky beer." And I didn't really work out why until I had a bit of a realization at an event in London in September last year, where I started to think successful people aren't getting smashed every weekend. When you look at truly successful people like Tony Robbins, some of the people I look up to, or I'm more in the fitness stuff now. So you look at some of these people, and you think they're not getting smashed all the time. They're not like drinking beer on a canal side pub like I am. They're not. They're not doing that. They're doing other things, and they're into mindset. They're into manifestation and spirituality and working out. So I was like, I really want to be more successful. I feel like I can be more successful. So that was all going on. And then this event happened in London, 2-day event. Those are great entrepreneurial speakers speaking. They all looked amazing. They all had great bodies. They all had great hair. They all had great. You took a selfie with them. They had amazing clothes. They looked like, oh God, you don't even look human. You're just phenomenal. Everything about you, your skin, your eyes are bright. And then I looked at the selfies the first night of me I took with some of these people, and I thought, God, I look like shit next to these people. Like it was like a before and after, but like in real life, it was like I look horrendous, and it just felt a bit ashamed of myself, really. And I know the reason was, I knew then, and I know now the reason was drinking. And it's not just the alcohol; it's all the things that comes with that, like the hangovers the next day, bad food choices, and all the stuff that happens because of beer and drinking, and whatever your choice is. So anyway, second day comes round. I've got a hangover, obviously, because I stayed in the hotel, so I got pissed at the free bar. So the next day I was struggling through beer sweats. I was outside trying to cool down, sober up, drink coffee. And I'm like, this is horrendous. Pete, I wasn't a drunk. I wasn't hanging around park benches drinking cider and stuff, although I did start like that when I was 15. But I was just I just drank at the weekend. I like to drink, and I drank when I cooked, and I drank when we went out. And if I went somewhere, I'd never drive because I wanted to get a few beers in. But I wasn't in police stations, I wasn't breaking stuff, I wasn't throwing up, I was very rarely sick, I remembered everything. I wasn't poor, I wasn't losing all my money. I was doing none of these things. I was just a normal drinker, normal in inverted commas. That's what I was. Um, but the final speaker, who lost his father to alcohol, really resonated with me. And on the way home on the M40, at about junction 3, I just decided I'm never drinking again. And I just decided I'm never drinking again. And the only way I can work out how I managed to continue that, because everyone can say that. I'll start Monday. I'll join a gym. I'll get healthy. I'll quit drinking. I'll do this. I'll leave that person. We can all say it. We can all think it's the right thing. We can logically list it all out, pros, cons. It's definitely the right thing to do. And then we don't do it. Something stronger, something greater than your logical mind is at power, and it's the rest of you. And it's all of your habits, and it's all of your inner wirings. It's all of those hardwiring kind of defense mechanisms that your body builds into it, your brain builds into it over the years. So between the ages of 1, 7, and 8, they reckon most of your lessons go in, and that is you. That is you, pretty much solid, done. So your parents are very important. Your teachers are incredibly important. Your grandparents are incredibly important. If you've got kids, you're fucking important. If you've got a 5 or 6-year-old, like everything you say goes in, and then all of a sudden, between the ages of 7 and 8, they stop listening to their parents, and then you become a teenager. Then you're like, fuck off, I know everything. So my young person was around alcohol, but not in a bad way. But my grandparents would love going to the pub. My parents would take us on UK holidays, and we'd always end up at a pub. Happiness to me was being in a pub. Every holiday was in a pub. But when I grew up and later found out my grandfather was actually an alcoholic, he died early. My grandmother died early because she was tired from looking after him. Many other factors, but they were basically just ruined from alcohol, really. My uncle was an alcoholic. He has now recovered. It changed my view on it, but my wiring was happiness. The pub is a happy place. A sneaky drink, which is what my grandfather used to do, was a great thing to do. It's definitely great. It's good fun. It's what you do. Once I realised that is now bullshit, it isn't happiness. I'm on my own in a pub, with my AirPods in, not talking to anyone. My happiness used to be a family holiday with all of my family and my grandparents, and they're not here anymore, and I'm on my own, getting fatter and uglier by the day. It just switched in my head, and that's what's allowed me to do it. And then because of removing that everything else has changed. So it's the flip reverse of what it used to be. Drinking used to mean takeaways, eating poorly, having hangovers. Now, I mean, I've been sober for 9.5 months, so I've had a hangover for a long time. I wake up every morning at 5 a.m. I work out. I've joined a gym. I've lost 3 stone in weight. I eat healthy. I make all my own food. Like, I'm literally the most annoying twat on Facebook out there. I'm the person I hated 10 months ago, and I say it all the time. Every time I post, I'm like, "You're going to hate this because I used to hate this, but you ought to read it because this is true." It's like it's so annoying because we all know this. We know what we need to eat. And I follow quite a lot of fitness people on Instagram now who kind of talk sense. They're very much like Gordon Ramsay of the fitness world. They just say it like it is. And they all say the same stuff. You know, burn more than you put in, you'll lose weight. Do some exercise or don't do exercise. But like, if you put less in, so we all know this. And what do we all do? We all eat too much food. We have too much stuff. We have Christmas and we eat 50,000 calories in 2 weeks and wonder why we put weight on over Christmas. And then we go on a diet running, you can't outrun a bad diet. It's one of the things I've always known. But since quitting alcohol, now I'm far less calories. I'm definitely about 10,000 a week less than I used to consume. But that alone won't change things. It's the food and the exercise outside of it. So it's catapulted me into the kind of the second change in my life, I guess. You've got like the divorce there where it changed it all, and now I'm kind of in a 2.0 version. And alcohol is, I think we all have a problem with it. And not because you're drinking too much, but because of the people around you are drinking too much, or because it's ingrained into what we do. You only have to look at what happened in lockdown. You know, we weren't allowed to even go and hug our relatives at funerals, but you could do Uber Eats some alcohol to your house. It was almost encouraged. What were the government doing? They were drinking it in the Houses of Parliament in number 10. You know, it is a problem. I think it's a big problem, and I'm glad I removed it.
I think it can be a big problem because it's a part of people's identity. It's all the pub and nightclubs. That gives them their escapism to be a different side of them that they can't be when they're sober. So can you relate to that?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I still struggle-ish when I go out to a social event because it is not the same. I have certain drinks when I go out now, so I have a lime and soda when I go out somewhere. It doesn't have to be like a bar or something. It can be anywhere. I went for a team meeting today and I drank one there, but I will not drink in the house because it's my out drink and it makes me feel like I'm out, and it's always in a pint glass because it feels the same. But the identity is a very powerful way of doing it, putting it, because it was my identity. I used to go to my local pub a lot, and if someone wanted to meet me, they knew I'd be there, so they'd go there.
Yeah.
It was part of my identity, and it was something I didn't want to be part of my identity anymore. And now, actually, part of my identity is being a boring knob who doesn't drink and drives an electric car. Do you know what? I'm all right with that. I'm okay with that.
A huge part of my program, behavior change coaching, like until you have that identity shift, you'll always revert back to your old ways. And you have completely had an identity shift, and now you're living a completely different life, aren't you? So
totally. It's you're so right, and that shift. The hard bit is doing the shift. Like I suspect most people listening now will be nodding their heads. So yeah, absolutely, Chris. I've got to have an identity shift. You try and change your identity, and I'm not saying this because oh look at me, I did it, but it is really hard because so much of what makes you you is going to stop you doing that, because it's going to be like no. This is all in place to keep us safe. You can't do that. It just pulls you back in, and that's why you can join the gym, and within 3 weeks you're back at home, not doing it. You can quit something, smoking, drinking, and without the right help and support, you'll start doing it again, because it's part of your safety mechanism. And I don't know how I've done it, but I seem to have removed that part of my identity now and changed it. And like you could put my favorite beer in front of me now with the sun shining in the best garden in the world, and I wouldn't drink. I'd probably put it on the floor. It's not that I hate it or I'm scared or anything. I just know now it isn't my identity anymore, and it isn't part of me. And I just, even alcohol-free beers, I've only just started looking at those because I was like, I'm going to just remove the whole thing, just because it's a habit. It's just this drinking, lifting your wrist up in the air and pouring liquid down your throat.
Isn't it a touch? Like I'm 30 and I'm pretty much getting it all out of my system. You know, some of my friends, they're still at it, and they're like, you're not like you used to be anymore. Like I used to be a bit wild, and as you are when you're pissed and stuff. Now I'm just calm and I guess boring. But it's just the transition, and it doesn't interest me anymore. And I'd rather be conscious and present in the moment rather than absolutely plastered, making a fool of myself. So
I totally agree. And I think it goes beyond the moment as well. I think it goes, certainly when you get older, when you reach the dizzy heights of 40, Chris, like a hangover lasts 2 or 3 days. You're not right for 2 or 3 days. It's not like you're proper hanging and desperate for McDonald's for 3 days, but like you are in trouble for 3 days. Your sleep is crap. It's a poison. Your body's struggling. And so it's after that where you're not present. And it also, because it becomes part of your identity, like it's something that isn't you that's part of your identity. And that really has driven me to be like, I don't want this stuff anymore. I've even quit coffee now. So I'm like 4 weeks dry on coffee. I've got rid of caffeine as well because I'm like, do we need caffeine? No, I can get up at 5 in the morning. It's now like 4:45 in the afternoon. I'm not asleep. I'm all right. I don't actually need it. And the high from coffee lasts very little, but the effects of it last for days and ruins your sleep. So I've removed that.
I've given up coffee as well, like, so I can relate to you there. And what I noticed with coffee was my anxiety and stress levels were just through the roof. Because I think caffeine, like, it builds up your adrenaline, doesn't it? And basic things would trigger us. I'd be snappy with the missus, and I'd be, where's this come from? And then I give up coffee. I've transitioned into cups of tea. It doesn't give you the same effect for some reason. I'm just way more calm and collected. And I don't know if you can relate. Like, what's your experience with giving up coffee?
Yeah, totally. The ups and downs, the anxiety. I mean, if I had too much coffee in the office because I was tired or I needed to be on it or whatever excuse I gave myself because I was semi-addicted to alcohol, coffee, sorry. You get your heart pumping too much and you're a little bit like, you're nervous about stuff and you start looking around and like, geez, what's going on here? Oh, I thought I'd missed something. And I was like, that's the coffee. You know it's the coffee. And then tomorrow you're going to do the same thing again. I'm like, nah, you're the same as the alcohol thing. I'm not drinking this for the caffeine high. I'm not drinking this to keep myself awake. I'm not drinking this for anything they say on the adverts. I'm not even drinking it because I like the taste of it anymore. I'm drinking this because it's a habit. And what I'm now semi-obsessed with doing is if I start doing something because it's a habit rather than because it's serving me, I look at it and I put a spotlight on it. I'm like, okay, I found another thing I do for the sake of doing it. Because when I was 10 or 12 or 13, 7, 5, for some reason, this is now something I do and it doesn't serve me now. The world has changed dramatically because of the pandemic, but it's absolutely changed in the last 20 years. What I learned when I was 7 years old, I'm 43 now, doesn't serve me now. Reading and writing and maths, fine. Being a good person, saying please and thank you, cool. I accept those are great things. But most of the stuff, like, my teacher telling me I'd never have a calculator for the rest of my life, so I've got to learn maths. These things were wrong. The world has changed. And I think a lot of our habits need to change as well. But I get why they're there. They're there to keep us safe. And there's like the self-awareness you said. You've got to be aware of it.
It's the key. Awareness is the first step to change, and everybody's just on autopilot, aren't they? Like, life's so fast paced and responsibilities. You just put yourself on the back burner, sitting there getting pissed, getting takeaways. You're not even conscious of it all, and before you know it, you're in a rut. It was probably you before you transformed your life, and then look at you now. So, yeah.
Well, I see it in the day I quit drinking in September, and I look at the profit and loss in the company, and it's gone up since I quit. So because I'm a leader and because Joe and I lead the company, we're better now. Because Joe drinks hardly anything now as well. He was nowhere near drinking what I was drinking anyway. But it's absolutely the change because of dropping alcohol, getting fitter and healthier, and being more on it, relying on my own energy and my own highs and my own kind of chemicals, if you like. It's affected other people, but it's affected my bottom line and my company, and that's affected other people. And it's a huge thing. I don't think you realize it until you remove something that's not serving you, how much it's not serving you, because it's affecting everything. It's beyond your diet and your hangovers. It's beyond that. It's all the things you're not doing. Like on a Friday now, I'm here in my house at like 5:30 rather than 7:30. That's an extra 2 hours with my daughter. And how many times is that across how many Fridays are there in a year? It's 365. That's over 700 hours. Fuck. It's a lot of hours in a year. And I did that for 2 years. So that's actually 1,400 hours where I haven't spent with my daughter.
Wow.
You start looking at it like that, and then you realize the impact. And the impact I now make on my daughter, we're a lot closer. And Joe has said, she's closer with you now. She even says that she tells people, and I've never really had the conversation with her. She's only 5. And she tells people, my daddy doesn't drink beer anymore. He drinks water because it's better for him. I've never said that to her. So the impact I'm making on a 5-year-old is huge.
Picking up on everything.
Picking up on everything, exactly.
Yeah, you're the hero, and like most parents, I haven't got kids yet, but most parents don't realise they're watching your every move and just as you said, program between 5 and 7 typically. And yeah, parenthood, it's one of the biggest blessings you'll ever have, but you've got huge things to do as an adult when you're in that position to benefit your kids, or you could go the opposite direction. So yeah, completely agree with you there.
Absolutely.
So what's the one bit of advice you'd give someone who's struggling with alcohol right now? What would your last little bit of advice be on that topic?
I think when I've tried to quit before, and if you're looking down to quit, or you're struggling with it, if you just try and quit and you try a program or an AA meeting or something, but you don't go within, I don't think you'll succeed. Dry January was easy for me at a point, like I said earlier, and then it became almost impossible to do, which sounds so weak and silly, but it's true. I think you've got to be very kind with yourself, and you've got to have a good conversation with yourself. Like, why am I actually doing it? And then keep asking yourself, why am I doing it? Why am I doing it? Why am I doing it? Because it's probably very, very deep rooted in what makes you, in your identity, as you said earlier, Chris. It's something about you and your identity and the environment that you're in, which affects you very much so, is causing you to do it, encouraging you to do it, until you work that out, like I did with the whole. I used to go to pubs when I was a kid, and it made me happy because I was with my family. It wasn't the alcohol that made me happy, because I wasn't even drinking. I was a kid. Until you kind of work out what it is that's driving you, logically you won't remove it, because there's a lot greater force in your mind going to put you really back in, to make you do it again. So it takes time. It's not something that will happen. It did happen. I say overnight. It happened between junction 3 and 40 for me, but it was a lot of time thinking about it beforehand. So, get support, talk to people. Meditation worked really well for that midweek thing. I mean, that was not meditation, so hypnotherapy. I would say meditation to hypnotherapy. So hypnosis really, really worked for that. So that's maybe a route that would work. But I actually spoke to Stuart that did my hypnosis, and he said the reason it worked for you and all the other clients is I made sure you knew why you wanted to do it. And it's reasons like, I want to lose weight, or my partner's told me I drink too much. I'm sorry, I just bullshit. They're not the reasons. They're not going to change. That's not the reason. I haven't done this for anyone but myself. Selfishly, I've done this for myself. Yes, it's helped loads of people, but it's for you. Like, why are you doing it, and what's your reason why you're doing it? And you can't blame anyone else either. Oh, I've got an abusive partner. You can't blame them for you drinking. There's a reason you're drinking. I lost my job. Fine. Why are you turning to drink instead of looking for another job? There's a reason why you're doing that. And it's not easy. It's not easy to do. It's not easy to admit it. I have that part of my brain missing. As I said at the beginning, I don't mind telling you. But I was ashamed of myself, and saw myself and looked at myself as selfies and hated my look of myself. But I also realised that I was searching for that childhood happiness. I'm okay to share that. I have that piece missing. I don't know whether it's as easy for the people to do that, because it's a tough thing to sort of look at yourself and think, I'm a bit broken, I'm a bit bust up. What's kept me alive all these years isn't actually serving me at all. So yeah, it's the why. Keep asking why.
And now looking into the future, like you get to share your story, and I'm sure you're inspiring people to change their ways. So it's a sort of a blessing in disguise, but it's obviously benefiting your new company as well, isn't it? Sharing your story and stuff. So
it's actually attracting clients, weirdly.
Is it?
It's bizarre. Yeah, I've actually taken on clients, and the reason we've hooked up is because I share it on LinkedIn. Like, people tell me it's not Facebook, but you shouldn't share it there. But I start a conversation, have a chat, and then lo and behold, they've got a copywriting job that they're doing, and I'm one of the runners, and I'm the one that wins. And I think, oh wow, it's because of a relationship I built because of that. So, in a weird way, yeah, it's benefiting all sorts of places you don't realise, and I think that's the key thing to remember in all this. With anything in your life that's not quite serving you, if you remove it, something else will replace it, which is why I deliberately put lime and soda in. So be careful what replaces it. But when you remove it, it changes everything. If you can change your identity, you won't be able to calculate that until you do it.
Yeah, that's an important thing actually. So in terms of behavior change, you must stack something in replacement. Otherwise, there's an empty space, and then something's going to fill it. So lime and soda was your transition.
Coffee and water now. So you've got rid of coffee. I just drink more water, which is obviously great for you. So
for me, it's getting rid of the kettle habit on the morning. It's just like I need to transition from that. But yeah, water's going to have to be the route for me. Caffeine. There's just two acceptable things in it. It's caffeine, alcohol.
Totally acceptable. And yin and yang, aren't they? Get pissed, have a terrible sleep, drink coffee, wake up, go back out, get more. Yeah, it's a vicious circle. I think a lot of people, certainly in the UK, get into of just self-medicating. And like I was often called a functioning alcoholic. I wasn't. I don't know whether I was an alcoholic or not. To be fair, I mean, I was addicted to it. I couldn't get rid of it. When you say alcoholic, you think we've all got a vision of someone as an alcoholic, someone that wakes up and drinks whiskey for breakfast. That wasn't me.
Mm.
But I was very much medicating myself. When something went well, when something went bad, when someone was born, when someone died, alcohol.
So
It has to be.
Alcohol dependent rather than addicted, you think?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we're like it's still now. It still happens now too. Like the sun's out. Think of my local pub. Went to a health club earlier for a meeting. Saw a beer. Thought about having one. Every single day I think about having one. Every single time there was an occasion that would have involved alcohol, tink, it clicks in. It's a bit like having a cog in a gearbox, but it's not quite attached to the cogs. It still goes round though. Every single time, cling. And now I just look at it and I smile because it's a reminder that I don't need it anymore. But I can see that that's still there. That it's like, every day I'm going to try and catch you out. I'm going to try and will you, and you keep looking, you keep trying, you keep running. I'm going to keep following up with you, and it will always be there. I will always be a drinker. I will always have a problem with alcohol, and I'm all right with that. So yeah, that's where it's. And I think that's that old habit. They say old habits die hard. I don't think they die at all. I think they stay there. You just unlink them.
And then you replace them with something else.
Replace them with something else. You're so right. You've got to the law of a vacuum. Drop something else in there. That's why when you give up smoking, you eat loads of food. You get
Exactly. So, what's the future for Spaghetti Agency, the cowboy? Intrigued by all that all.
Yeah. So Spaghetti Agency, born out of a love affair of Twitter, and then a love affair with someone I met on Twitter. We're growing the team. We've got some good targets in sights. We're recruiting at the moment as well. Still, we've grown through the pandemic. The pandemic was a bit of a gift to us because everyone obviously wanted to go online, and we're online marketing. But the future is really quite exciting. So I'm going to try and get back into the training world where I started again all those years ago. Start helping people again. We're out there exhibiting, speaking, growing our team. It's really fun times. It's the past couple of years has been crazy, to be honest. The moment Boris shut the country and said, "Don't leave your house," I just went to the office and built my company. It was like, fuck this, I'm going to go and do something. Everyone was painting their fences, and I was in a cloud online trying to build something. So that it's really exciting. We've got a business coach, sales coach, amazing people around us, and it's I've got to build something for my kids. Like I've got a 15-year-old and a 5-year-old, and I've got a minimal pension and no savings after a divorce. So I've got a lot to look at too. But I just love it. I love everything that I do now. So I feel very grateful.
Not many people can say that, can they?
No, I don't think. I don't think I'd have said it now if I was still at the wine merchant. They're probably not even going now after COVID. Not many people can say that. Do what you love. Absolutely, do it.
Right, I think that's about an hour of our time. So before we end our podcast episode, where could people get in touch with you, whether it be business or alcohol related?
Just find me. I'm social media Todd on most social media channels. Spaghetti Agency is our website. Go and look; it's good fun. Wild West brand. Most of our social links are on the bottom of there. So you'll find us. If you can't find me, you're not even looking.
All right, awesome. This has been Graham Todd's Resilient Journey in Life, and I will see you all in the next episode. See you then.